Greetings, this is PaulthePoke from PaulthePoke.com. Today's topic, Tylenol and neurodevelopmental links, question mark, allegedly, possibly, under consideration. 1 Timothy 6:10, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It's through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. So, at the core of this verse is the attitude of coveting. So let's remember all the way back to Exodus 20, verse 17, you shall not covet, one of the 10 commandments. And the idea behind this 1 Timothy verse is, we're just breaking it down. Craving money, craving it, is foundational to all kinds of evils, or kakos in the original Greek. And kakos could mean or be translated as bad, evil, wicked, harmful. And I thought Help's Word Studies did a nice definition. It defines kakos in this manner: properly, inwardly foul and rotten, poisoned. So it's like you're poisoned. Your character is poisoned from the inside out. Figuratively, inner malice flowing out of moral, rotten character. So the rot is already in the wood, is the idea. And it's this attitude and character. If you possess it, you bring consequences onto yourself. And the end result of it is an intense, deep pain, sorrow, and anguish. So with all of that, as kind of as a thought, thanks to Michael Duville, he forwarded me, this is from the Epoch Times, and then also had the studies that went along with it. And as usual, check it out for yourself, draw your own conclusions. And this all got started. Epoch Times obtained an email from February 8, 2018. So here we are, 7 years ago? Rachel Weinstein, Director of Epidemiology at Johnson & Johnson, subsidiary Janssen. We're going to change. We're going to go from Janssen to something different coming up. But at any rate, she wrote, the weight of evidence is starting to feel heavy to me. And these were internal emails that came out, and then we got some studies that were taking place. And I've got links to 4 studies. And so the question is there a link between Tylenol and neurodevelopmental issues? And this is from neurotoxicology and teratology. The relationship of prenatal acetaminophen exposure and attention-related behavior in early childhood. So the highlights: prenatal acetaminophen exposure was related to higher attention-related CBCL scores. More use, especially during the second trimester of pregnancy, was related to more attention problems. So if the mom was using increased Tylenol, there was a relation. It was related to more attention problems in the offspring or the child. And increases in CBCL scores. I don't know what that stands for. Probably ought to know that. But the bottom line was it was apparent at 2, 3, and 4 years of age. So acetaminophen use in pregnancy may be related to worse attention in early childhood. Abstract, introduction, so forth. This is how this is all set up, so you guys can read the study for yourself. And if you want to read the link, click on this right here. Or if you want to download it, click right here. So that's one study. Maternal use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and neurobehavioral problems in offspring at 3 years. A prospective cohort study. Okay. Conclusions. I'm going to skip all the background methods results. Again, read all this if you want to. I'm just going to hit the highlights and the conclusions, the summary of what the findings were. These findings corroborate previous studies reporting associations between prenatal exposure to acetaminophen and attention problems in offspring, and also show an association with sleep problems at age 3 years. Because use of acetaminophen during pregnancy is common, these results are of public health concern and suggest caution in the use of medications containing acetaminophen during pregnancy. Okay. Again, if you want to read this study, please feel free. You can scroll through it here. If you want the link itself, click here, download it here. Let's take a look at hormones and behavior. Prenatal exposure and child neurodevelopment. A review. This looks at 9 studies and suggests prenatal acetaminophen is associated with adverse neurodevelopment. These neurodevelopment endpoints include ADHD, ASD, and lower IQ. Associations were strongest for hyperactivity and attention-related outcomes. Controlling for indication for use when possible did not explain associations. Given these findings, pregnant women should be cautioned against indiscriminate acetaminophen use. Again, conclusions. Together, these 9 studies suggest an increased risk of adverse neurodevelopment outcomes following prenatal acetaminophen exposure. Further studies are urgently needed with precise indication of use and exposure assessment of both use in utero and in early life. Given the current findings, pregnant women should be cautioned against the indiscriminate use of acetaminophen. Substantial public health implications. Okay, again, link and download as well. Mount Sinai study supports evidence that prenatal acetaminophen use may be linked to increased risk of autism and ADHD. This is out of New York, New York. Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai found prenatal exposure to acetaminophen may increase the risk of neurodevelopment disorders, including autism spectrum disorder, ADHD. Take your pick. Acetaminophen, Tylenol, brand names Tylenol. And I can't even begin to say it. Paracetamol, I'm sure I'm butchering that. Somebody with a health background. I do have a health background, and I'm not a pharmacist. But you get the drift. We're talking about the same medication. That's what they call it outside the United States and Canada. So, analysis by a Mount Sinai-led team of 46 studies incorporating data from more than 100,000 participants across multiple countries challenged this perception and underscores the need for both caution and further study. And that's one thing that's going to happen with AI. We'll be able to throw all this stuff at AI, ask a few key questions, and you'll have somebody be able to read it faster and summarize it. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's a machine, although the machine will claim to be smarter than us here in very short order. But this would be something where you could get the machine to break down information, look for correlations, statistical probabilities, analysis, and so forth. This is Dr. Prada. Pregnant women should not stop taking medication without consulting their doctors. Untreated pain or fever can also harm the baby. Our study highlights the importance of discussing the safest approach with healthcare providers and considering non-drug options whenever possible. So, anyway, something to think about. Again, link and download if you want it. And that's also, and this is the article where this all got started from Zero Hedge. Tylenol makers said in internal emails evidence of link to autism starting to feel heavy. And this came out, Wednesday, October 1st of this year. So here's the article that was sent to me by Michael Duville. And I pulled a few quotes. Difficult options. Lawyer. Emails came to light in lawsuits brought by women who say they should have been warned by Johnson & Johnson and retailers about the risks of neurodevelopment problems associated with acetaminophen problems. Now we have lawyers representing patients and lawyers representing what is now Kenvue. No longer J&J, Kenvue is now the maker of Tylenol. So, holy cow, here we go. We've been looking at it, they said. I'm sure you have. You haven't stopped making it, but you're looking at it. And here's a quote from the article. Johnson & Johnson was the maker of Tylenol for years. In 2023, a newly created company called Kenvue took over the Tylenol brand and other consumer brands. So it's no longer J&J, it's now Kenvue as of 2023. Wonder why that was. These documents show we were doing exactly the right thing, a spokesperson for Kenvue told the Epoch Times in an email. We have continuously evaluated the science, and there is no credible evidence that taking acetaminophen causes autism. Okay. So we're not going to hear about these studies from the mainstream press and media. They're conflicted. You know, back in the day, Johnson & Johnson poured millions of advertising dollars into corporate media. And so anytime you see Tylenol commercials now, they're still pouring millions upon millions of dollars into corporate media stations and companies. And the bottom line is the press cares more about money than what is in the best interest of the health of Americans or people. I mean, after all, we got billions upon billions of dollars at risk here. We can't afford that gravy train to be affected. No. So, just something, this may be new news for a lot of people who are hearing this. So, if so, please share it with others. And again, with any of this stuff, read it, check it out for yourself, come to your own conclusions. I'm not saying it causes it. I'm just looking at some studies and got some red flags here. Is there a statistical correlation? I don't know. Doesn't appear to be. Nobody's saying that. But there are some interesting correlations that people are drawing. Do your own homework. Check it out. So that's all I've got for this week. Kind of a quiet news on the home front. So we'll keep an eye on that. Appreciate everybody following along. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.